But when you see people like who he's describing the Jews to be, having a constant day and night, 24-hour, 24/7 passion for God, he says we want them to be saved. Absolutely want them to be saved because they have a tremendous zeal for God. But it's not according to knowledge. Now, this is an important connection. This sentence, this phrase is a very important connection to what he's explained in chapter 2. Okay, so in chapter 2, verses 17 through 20, he talks to the Jews directly. Right? He talks to Israel directly. He says, you rest in the law. You trust that you're an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of the babes. You have a form of knowledge and truth in the law. Right? He goes through, and when you read what he describes, it looks like what he's saying in chapter 2 is that they are knowledgeable. But now in chapter 10, in chapter 10 he's saying they're not knowledgeable. And the key to this is that what they had and what he describes that they have in chapter 2 is not real knowledge. It's a form of knowledge. It's the shape of knowledge. But there's nothing in it. So imagine a mannequin, right? A clay mannequin. Has every appearance of being a person. It's molded, it's cast maybe even with the actual form of a person, actually a real person, and they cover them with latex and then they cast it that full of clay and they turn it in and it looks exactly like, but there's no life in it. There's no reality in it. There's no substance in it. That's what Paul is telling them. Yes, you have the form of knowledge we talked about in chapter 2, but you don't have any of the reality of it. It just looks like it. So it's a shell. Now this isn't. This goes beyond just their own personal instantiation of this issue. This also is a good way for you to understand what the Old Testament is. And one day we need to talk about this more in detail. But just to give you like a primer on this. So you have the idea of the Old Testament and the New Testament, and one way of thinking about this is that the New Testament is just Old Testament 2.0. Right? It's like a new version of the old one. Or it's a new one, but it's the same thing. So basically it'd be like two 2x4s laying on the ground, one against the other, right? Stacked against, touching each other. It's like the new one kept boom, and it's like it just filled in the bridge. The Old Testament was half the bridge, and the New Testament's the other half of the bridge. No, that's not at all right. That's the wrong analogy. So I want to give you an analogy that might be a little closer to how you ought to think about what the Old and the New Testaments are. The Old Testament is like imagine a gurney, and over the gurney is a big sheet covering it, and you're looking at it, and pushing up the sheet, it looks like the form of a human body. Now, if you're in a hospital and you see that, you're going to think there's a person underneath this sheet. But you grab the sheet and you lift it up, and what you find underneath is a mannequin. That's the Old Testament. The Old Testament is the mannequin pushing up the form of what looks like the New Testament. That's the Old Testament. And the New Testament is the sheet. That's the New Testament. The New Testament runs across the entire Old Testament and everything we call the New this time, and it runs all the way back into eternity because the New Testament is grace. It's infinite. It didn't start at the cross. It always has been. Everyone saved in the quote-unquote Old Testament was saved by grace, not by law. That's very clear in the Scriptures. Everyone saved in the future will be saved by grace. Anywhere, at any time. If anybody is saved, it's always by grace. It just runs across. So that's the sheet. The New Testament is. Now, if we want any reality to the shape that the New Testament has, then we got to get rid of the mannequin and we got to put in a real body. Which, interestingly enough, God says in Hebrews that he prepared himself a body. And he pushed out the old symbols, all those things that were holding a shape and place And they were necessary and important in their time because they held that shape and you could see the shape and understand what was coming. But the problem is that Israel fell in love with the mannequin. And when the real body came, Christ, to fill in that space and occupy that void and give it not only the form, the shape that we think of, but the substance of it, so that there was an actual real substance under that shape, they couldn't accept that. They stumbled at that because he was displacing all the symbols. He was coming and he took a bat to the mannequin. Destroyed all these symbols. And he thought, you're destroying the Testament. He says, I'm not destroying the Testament. I'm taking out the symbols and I'm filling them with substance.